Daf Yomi, Higia Zeman, Daf Yomi. Daf Yomi Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 14a. Top of the page with the Gemara. We finished the Mishnah and now we are starting the Gemara with the words Mai Itztrobalin. Zog de Heilige Gemara, Mai Itztrobalin, Tonita. The Gemara analyzes the terms in the Mishnah. What is the meaning of Itztrobalin? It is the plant known as Tornita. That helps. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I guess they probably knew what it meant at the time. Tornita. This is the plant known as Tornita. Oremino, hoisi forem alechsin bitzchoboilin, machasostin b'noi shuach, isa b'nai tzchoboilin tornisa misa b'shvis. And the Gemara raises a contradiction from a Braita. The sages added to the list of plants whose use is prohibited during the sabbatical year Alexin and Itztrobalin, Mukasin, and Benot Shuach. And if it would enter your mind to say that Itztrobalin is Tornita, is there Tornita that is subject to the halachot of the sabbatical year? V'hatanan, the Gemara explains that we learned in the Mishnah, in Braita. But then we learned the Braita. So not usually Mishnah, but they're saying here Braita. Okay, maybe it's both. Okay, we learned. What did we learn in a Braita? Zehakal kol sheyesh lo ikar yesh lo shvis yechol she'en lo ikar ein lo shvis. Amar Rabbi Safra pered alza v'chein kiyasa Ravin Amar Rabbi Elozo pered alza. The Gemara explains, but didn't we learn in a Braita that this is the principle? Anything that has a root and grows is subject to the halachot of the sabbatical year, and anything that does not have a root is not subject to the halachot of the sabbatical year. If so, Tornita, which has no roots, is not subject to the halachot of the sabbatical year, and therefore it cannot be identified as Itztrobalin. Rather, Rav Sofer says, what is Itztrobalin? It is the fruit of the cedar tree. And similarly, when Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael, he said that Rabbi Elazar says Itztrobalin is the fruit of a cedar tree. Benot Shuach, Amar Rabbi Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Tene Chivarata, Upotos, Amar Rabbi Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Biftor Trotein Shanu. The Mishnah includes Benot Shuach among the items one may not sell to a Gentile. Rabbi Bar Chana says that Rabbi Yochanan says these are white figs. Benot Shuach. White figs. The Mishnah states, and Petotarot. Rabbi Bar Chana says that Rabbi Yochanan says this is not another type of fruit. Rather, the Mishnah here taught that the sale of the various fruits listed in the Mishnah is prohibited only when they are sold with their stems, not if they have been pruned. Livona Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Livona Zaka Tana Michol Moichelem Chavilo Echam Chavilo Peresh Rabbi Besero Ein Chavilo Besucho Mishlosh Monim. The Mishnah taught that selling frankincense to Gentiles is prohibited. Rabbi Yitzchak says that Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says the Mishnah is referring specifically to pure frankincense, which is used as incense for objects of idol worship. The sages taught, and with regard to all these items whose sale is prohibited, one may sell to Gentiles a large bundle of merchandise, as it is clear that the Gentile intends to sell the merchandise rather than sacrifice it to his object of idol worship. And how much does such a bundle weigh? Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira explained, for the purposes of this halacha, no bundle is less than the weight of 300 dinars. Gemara raises a difficulty, but let us be concerned lest the buyer go and sell these items to another Gentile and they sacrifice them. The buyer said in response, this scenario is certainly possible, but we are commanded not only to place a stumbling block before the blind, Leviticus, but we are commanded only not to place a stumbling block for the blind, Leviticus 19:14, meaning one may not be the direct cause of a Gentile's idol worship. We are not commanded to place a stumbling block before one who may subsequently place it before the blind. It says lifnei iver, but it doesn't say lifnei iver. That's the idea. V'tarne golavan, amar Rabbi Yonah, amar Rabbi Zarah, amar Rabbi Zvid, ikad amaskei amar Rabbi Yonah, amar Rabbi Zarah. Tarnegol mi, mutar lemkolo tarnegol lavan. Tarnegol lavan mi, asur lemkolo tarnegol lavan. The Mishnah teaches, and it is prohibited to sell a white rooster to a Gentile. Rabbi Yonah says that Rabbi Zarah says that Rav Zvid says the following ruling, and there are those who teach merely that Rabbi Yonah says that Rabbi Zarah says. Okay. If a Gentile says, who has a rooster, without specifying any type, it is permitted to sell him a white rooster. But if he says, who has a white rooster, it is prohibited to sell him a white rooster. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda says, Mochahu lo tanegol, lavan ben tanegoilin, hechidami. Ilem de kama tanegol limi, tanegol lavan limi. Afilu ben tanegol namila. The Gemara raises an objection to this opinion. We learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda says, he may sell a white rooster to a Gentile, provided that it is sold along with other types of roosters. What are the circumstances? If we say that the Gentile says, who has a white rooster? Who has a white rooster in the case? In that case, one may not provide him with a white rooster, even if it is sold along with other roosters, as the Gentile specified that he wants a white rooster. Ela lav dekama tanegol mi ve'afilu ha'chila Yehuda ben hatanegolim in pnei atzmo la. Rather, is it not referring to a case where the Gentile says, who has a rooster? Who has a rooster? Without mentioning a white rooster. And even so, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if he sells him a white rooster along with other white roosters, then yes, it is permitted, but selling only a white rooster by itself is not permitted. And one can infer that according to the first Tana, who prohibits the sale of a white rooster, one may not sell him a white rooster, even if it is sold along with other white roosters. This does not accord with the statement of Rabbi Yonah, who rules that if a Gentile says, who has a rooster without specifying any particular type, it is permitted to sell him even a white rooster. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Chacham Mayaskinan Kigon Amar Zeh. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said the Mishnah is not discussing the case of a Gentile who asks for a rooster without specifying its color. As everyone agrees that in such a situation, it is permitted to sell him a white rooster. Rather, we are dealing with a case where the Jew had several different roosters, and the Gentile says, pointing to different roosters, sell me this one and that one, and one of the roosters he chose was white. Tanya Nami Hachi. The Gemara notes that this explanation is also taught in Braita. Amar Yehuda Ematai Bisman Shemata Negol Zelavan Avadim Amar Ze Ze Mutal Afilu Amar Negol Ze Goy She'asa Mishte Levno O Shaya Lo Chole B'tok B'to Mutal. The Gemara notes this explanation is also taught in Braita, where Yehuda said, when is selling a white rooster prohibited? It is prohibited when the Gentile said, see, Tarnagol Lavan. Tarnagol Lavan, Tarnagol Lavan, Tarnagol Lavan is 771. Yeah. Okay, weiter. Aval im amar ze v'ze mutar afilu amar tanagol ze goy shas. All right. Even if he said, "Sell me this rooster," and he pointed to a white rooster. In the case of a Gentile who is preparing a feast for his son, or who has a sick person in his house, it is permitted to sell to him, as it is clear that he wants it for a celebration for his son, or for the sick person and not for idol worship. Yotanyo, we learned in the Baisin, Goy Shasa Mishte Livno, Eino Soera Osayom, Yosa Ish Bilvad. Oto Hayom, Veoto Aish. Mihasu Amar Yehud Amar Yitzchak Barav Mishashya Bitavzig. The Gemara asks, but isn't it taught in Mishnah in 8a, in the case of a Gentile who made a feast for his son, engaging in business is prohibited only on that day, and with that man alone. This indicates that, in any event, conducting business on that day, and with that man is prohibited. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Mishashya says that Braita is speaking about a picnic, a social gathering rather than a wedding feast. A mere social gathering does not include the sacrifice of offerings of idolatry. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Ushak lagaim staman mutal, perashon osu, ma'izun vaybo ushani leva staman nikama, chite chavalta, perushan nikama leva zalve. We learned in the Mishnah, and with regard to all remaining items without specification, it is permitted to sell them, but with specification it is prohibited to sell them. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of without specification? What is meant by with specification? If we say that without specification is referring to a case where the Gentile says that he wants white wheat without stating the reason he wants it, and with specification is referring to a case when he says that he will use the wheat for idol worship. Why is it necessary for the Mishnah to teach this halakha? And now we turn to Daf 14b, the other side of 14. Lo stam, top of the page, the word lo staman. Lo staman, tzricha lemimar din mizav, ninan. Velo berushim tzricha lemimar, de lo mizav ninan ela staman. De kama chite, rushan, de kama chivarada. It does not need to be said that when he asks for the item without specification, one may sell white wheat to him. And it does not need to be said that when he asks for it with specification, one may not sell it to him, as he expressly stated, that he will use it for idol worship. Rather, when the Mishnah says that he asks without specification, this is referring to a case where the Gentile says that he wishes to buy wheat, in which case it is permitted to sell to him. If so, the case when he asks with specification is one where he says that he wants white wheat, which is an item used in idol worship, and the Mishnah teaches that it's prohibited to sell this to him. Miklal detal negora kiddush taman amelo amri oilam stama dikama chitichvalda berusha negama lavarizola. By inference, this means that in the case of a rooster referred to earlier in the Mishnah, even if the Gentile requests without specification, meaning without saying that he wants a white one, it is not permitted to sell to him. This conclusion contradicts the opinion of Rabbi Zarah. The Gemara rejects his argument, say in response that actually, without specification is referring to a case where the Gentile says that he wants to purchase white wheat, and with specification is referring to a case where he says that he needs it for idol worship. Ema hachi ki hechi telitevu li kamashmala. And as for the objection that this ruling is superfluous, in fact, it is necessary for the Mishnah to state the halakha in a case where he specified that he would use the item for idol worship. The Gemara elaborates. It might enter your mind to say that this man does not really need the wheat for his idol worship. Rather, he is deeply attached to idol worship, and he thought that just as that man, meaning himself, is so attached to it, everyone else is also attached to idol worship. Therefore, he reasoned, I will say this, that I intend to use the item for idol worship so that they will give it to me. Consequently, it is necessary for the Mishnah to teach us that if he says that he intends to use the item for idol worship, it is prohibited to sell to him, as he might be telling the truth. Boy Ravashi Tar Nigolavan Katualami Maurimko Lotar Nigolavan Shem Miamrin and Mintekoma Katua La Avodah Zarah Kave Odilma Ir Arome Kame Arim. Ravashi raised a dilemma. If a Gentile seeks the merchants, you know what? I'm going to take a break right now because I see a teiku coming up, and since I'm going to take a break right now. Okay, we are back. Let's start from Boy Ravashi. When we get to this teiku, I have something to share. Boy Ravashi Tarnagolavan Katulami Maudim Kolo Tarnagolavan Shalem Miamren Midikomal Katua Lola Avodah Zarah Kave Oidilma Yarome Kamarem Rav Ashi raised a dilemma. If a Gentile asks the merchants, who has a damaged white rooster, what is the halacha with regard to whether it is permitted to sell him an unblemished white rooster? Do we say that from the fact that he says that he wants a damaged rooster, it may be inferred that he does not need a cry worship, as Gentiles do not sacrifice defective animals, and therefore it is permitted? Or perhaps he is only employing artifice. In other words, he knows that a Jew will not sell him an undamaged white rooster upon request. And it is unlikely that someone has a damaged white rooster to sell to him. He hopes that he will receive an undamaged one. If so, it is prohibited to sell him a white rooster. Okay. Im timse lomar ha'ir aromehu dekamarim tarnegol avonemi Yehavule shchor ushkat Yehavule adom ushkat Ma'ahu limkor lo lavan Mi amrinan kevan dehavu shchor ushkat adom ushkat Lav le'avodah Zarah comme boy oy dilma ir arome kamearim Teku. This is the 199th Teku in Talmud Bavli. Okay, let's just say it in English and I'll explain. If you say, I think it's Rav Ashi continuing his questioning, if you say that this Gentile is employing artifice, which means he's doing a little bit of, chicanery, he's doing shtick, he's basically lying, trickery, and it is prohibited in the case where he said, who has a white rooster? Who has a white rooster? And they brought him a black rooster, and he took it. Or in the case where they brought him a red one, and he took it. What is the halacha with regard to whether it is permitted to sell him a white rooster? Do we say that since they brought him a black rooster and he took it, it reminds me of the joke, what is white and black and red all over? Okay? A newspaper. Do we say, since they brought him a black rooster and he took it, or they brought him a red one and he took it, evidently he does not need the rooster for idol worship, or perhaps here too he is employing artifice. Okay, so the case was, what if he said, okay, who has a white rooster? Who has a white rooster? And then you see that someone brought him a black one, someone brought him a red one. So are you allowed to sell him a white one? So Rav Ashi is asking, we don't know. Do we say that since he took the white one and the black one, the red one, the black one, so he doesn't need a white one. He just needs, he said he needs anyone. He came to his mind a white one, and they gave him a black one and a red one. That was okay for him. So he doesn't. He's not doing about his all. But maybe, on the other hand, maybe he was just saying that in order to get the white one because he knows that he's around Jews, and he says, and he takes the white one. No, that's my own answer. Forget that. Basically, the Gemara is saying that he's trying to trick people. That he says who has a white one, and then they bring him a black one and a red one, and then the other person sees that it was white and it was black and red. So now his defenses are down, and he'll get the white one. Teku. We don't know. We don't know what his intention was. This is the 199th Teku in Talmud Bavli, according to the book written by Rabbi Aharon Yehoshua Pesach, called Teku. I think it came out in the year 2006. Tafshin Samach Vav. And if you've seen some of my other videos, then you will realize that I've been making videos on all the Tekus, and so this is one of them. It's 199. I start from the beginning, and I'm up to 13. So 13 I'm sorry, not 99, 199. Okay, do we say, all right, fine, take it. Rabbi Meir Omer. Rabbi Meir says, Avdek elchu, Avdek elchu le. Rabbi Meir Omer, Avdek elchu le. Amar le Rav Chizda Labini. Gemire Avodah Zarah Devam Abinu. Arba mea pirkei haviyan. Yanan chamshatnan. Velo yadin mai kamurina. Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Meir says it's prohibited to sell even a good palm tree and atzav to, whatever that is, atzav. To Gentiles. Rabbi Chizda said Rabbi Meir learned as a tradition that the tractate of Avodah Zarah of our forefather Abraham contained 400 chapters. Wow, that's interesting. The tractate of Avodah Zarah of our forefather Abraham contained 400 chapters, and we have learned only 5 chapters in our tractate of Avodah Zarah, and we do not even know the meaning of what we are saying. 400 chapters? That's a lot of chapters. What's he writing about already there? Umay kashya digitali Meir Omer Avdek tav chatzav v'niklabes or v'nikles asul nimkol lagoy dekel tav hu dela mizavninan hadekel bish mizavninan ve'atnan ein moichen lahem mechubar karka. Amale my dekel tav peiros dekel tav v'chen amar Avuna peiros dekel tav. Avimi asked him, and what in the Mishnah here poses a difficulty for you? He replied, I do not understand the Mishnah, which teaches the following. Rabbi Meir says it's prohibited to sell even a good palm tree, tzav and naklas, to Gentiles. It may be inferred from here that it is a good palm tree that one does not sell to Gentiles, but one may sell a bad palm tree. But did we learn in another Mishnah, 19b, that one may not sell to Gentiles anything that is attached to the ground? Vimi said to him, what is the meaning of a good palm tree? It means the detached fruit of a good palm tree. And similarly, Rav Huna says that Mishnah means the fruit of a good palm tree. Every good tree brings forth good fruit. Chatzav kashba niklas niklas ki asar avdi miyara v'chay bar Yosef kuyate amalei abayel avive tanan niklas or niklabas lo yadinan mahu yatam likuriate v'lo yadinan maya adlan amalei ani lechu Chiyazat hatam amart alehu niklas niklabes v'lo yadi amart alehu kuriate ve'adika v'ka machavu lach. The Gemara explains the meaning of other terms that appear in the Mishnah. Tzav is a type of date known as kashba. With regard to the meaning of naklas, the Gemara relates when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he said that Rabbi Chama Bar Yosef said that it is referring to Koryate. Abaye said to Rav Dimi, we learned in the Mishnah naklas, and we did not know what it is. And now you have said that it means Koryate, and we do not know what it is either. How have you helped us? Rav Dimi said to him, I have in fact helped you. As when you go there, in Eretz Yisrael, and say to them naklas, and they do not know what it means, say to them koryate, and they will know what it is. They will show it to you. And that's the end of that. New Mishnah. Makom shinagu limkor behem adak al goyim moichim makom shinagu shelo limkor en mocherim. ובכל מקום אין מוכין להם בהם גסה, עגלים וסייחים, שלמים ושבורים. רב יהודה מתיר בשבורה, ובמטרה מתיר בסוס. In a place where, the Mishnah says, in a place where the residents were accustomed to sell small, domesticated animals to Gentiles, one may sell them. In a place where they were not accustomed to sell them, one may not sell them. But in every place, one may not sell them large livestock, calves or foals, whether these animals are whole or damaged. The sages prohibited these sales, lest a Jew's animal perform labor for the Gentile on Shabbat in violation of an explicit Torah prohibition, as explained in the Gemara. But Yehuda permits the sale of a damaged animal because it is incapable of performing labor, and Ben Metera permits the sale of a horse for riding because riding a horse on Shabbat is not prohibited by Torah law. Now we start the Talmud, the Gemara. Zok the Gemara, Lememra di Surlega, Min Haga hu diika, Hecha dinahig isul. Nahug, Hecha dinahig heter nahug. Gemara, the Mishnah teaches that one may not sell small domesticated animals to Gentiles if it is not the accepted practice. The Gemara infers, that is to say, that there is no prohibition involved, rather, there is a custom not to sell small domesticated animals. Therefore, where the practice is to prohibit the sale, that is what is practiced. And where the practice is to permit the sale, that is what is practiced. Uremini en mamimema bepundakaos shel goim mipnei shechashudin al ha'aviyah. Amarav makom shitiru limkor hitiru liyached makom she'asru liyached asru limkor. And the Gemara raises a contradiction from the Mishnah on 22a. One may not keep an animal in the inns of Gentiles because they are suspected of engaging in bestiality. If so, it should be prohibited in all places to sell animals to Gentiles, as one is, thereby placing a stumbling block before the blind. Rabbi Rav says the halacha of the Mishnah there with regard to keeping an animal in a Gentile inn is contingent on the halacha of the Mishnah here. If it is a place where the sages permitted one to sell animals to Gentiles, it must be that the Gentiles of that location are not suspected of engaging in bestiality. Therefore, the sages permitted one to leave the animal in seclusion with the Gentile at the inn. Conversely, in a place where the sages prohibited one from leaving the animal in seclusion with the Gentile at the inn, because the Gentiles there are suspected of engaging in bestiality, they are prohibited one from selling animals to Gentiles there.